What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. And today we have a very interesting video that we are going to be going into. This is something that is absolutely so vital to make sure that you are taking into consideration in your everyday life, because if you do not apply this principle, and if you miss this, if you actively choose not to see this, this can literally take a serious toll on your life, and that is not something that you want to experience. We are going to be talking about abandonment. Specifically, are you abandoning yourself, and why you do not want to do this? So what I'm going to be sharing is I'm going to be sharing common ways that a lot of people will abandon themselves, their own inner child, in order to stay in something, or in order to have some sort of a false security in some form of a relationship that is just not healthy anymore. What are some of the consequences of abandoning yourself? What are some of the outcomes that you can expect when this happens within these relationships, and why this is not the healthy choice, and how there is a better path to take? And I'm going to be sharing all of these different things in today's video. So if this is something you want to know a lot more about, self-abandonment, if you find yourself in this pattern, then I highly recommend that you stay tuned for the rest of this video, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our video today. So we are talking about abandonment. So the first thing that we really want to understand when it comes to abandonment is that abandonment is a very deep core wound from trauma that a lot of people have. I would honestly say, for sure, if you're watching this video, I can almost guarantee you have this as one of your core wounds. But literally, so many people on our planet today are dealing with some form of a deep core wound of feeling abandoned. Abandoned can come through things like parents divorcing. It can come through significant emotional neglect as a child. It can come from a friend that you used to trust and love that kind of turns on you and lies to you, and basically turns into being someone that you thought they were, but they're not, right? There are so many different forms of abandonment that can manifest themselves, and a lot of us have experienced this in the early childhood developmental stages with our parents, and this is stuff that we carry inside of our bodies, and it carries on into our adulthood. So this is something that, once again, is important to understand, and it's important to kind of follow where a lot of the roots are with abandonment in general. So one of the downstream effects for a lot of people, this is something that I have personally experienced in my life as well, and it's a really tough thing to actually start to become aware of or conscious of. But one of the downstream effects that a lot of people will typically end up experiencing that have severe core wounds of abandonment is abandonment of self. And what does that actually look like, and how does this usually manifest itself into someone's life? Well, abandonment of self usually is going to manifest when you are in a relationship with someone. So whether this is a family relationship, whether it's a friendship relationship, or of course, if it is an intimate relationship between you and your spouse or you and your partner. This is one of the most significant forms of where this type of abandonment of self usually will occur. And actually, what will typically happen is you will typically attract certain types of people into your life that are giving you reflections of this deeper core abandonment wound inside of your system. So not all the times, but a lot of the times when we're attracting people that are based on this core wound that we are not working with ourselves or that we're not yet aware of, we are oftentimes going to be attracting people that sometimes aren't the healthiest people to be in relationships with. The reason why this once again happens is because, with a deep core abandonment wound, that often puts us in a position where we don't feel worthy of love, or we don't feel like we're deserving of things that are actually healthy, or things that are nurturing and beautiful, or things that are harmonious. We think that we are, worthless. We think that we deserve to be abandoned. We think that we don't have a self-worth. We think all these, really sad things about ourselves. And remember, a lot of this can be unconscious. So not everyone is like consciously aware of this. This can be unconscious, and it's stuff that we carry inside of our nervous system in regards to the emotions of feeling abandoned and feeling worthless. So it's usually these emotions that start to, create our energetic resonance, and then that attracts certain people that also feel in similar ways. They don't feel worthy. They feel abandoned as well. They don't have a self-worth. And you can imagine, if you're not conscious of what's going on internally with your system, and you're not allowing yourself to slowly work with some of these emotions and some of these traumas, you are pretty often likely to attract not the healthiest types of people. So once again, if you're unconscious that you've got these things going on, then you're also in resonance for other people to come into your life that are also unconscious of what is going on inside of their system as well. So you have a formula of two people that are very unconscious of what is going on internally. Both have core wounds of abandonment, both have low self-worth. That oftentimes can be a formula for a not so healthy relationship dynamic. Now, let's say that you are a person that is wanting to become aware of these things, but maybe you weren't that aware, but you have intentions to want to work through these things and understand yourself. At the same time, it can be quite often that we're still attracting certain types of people into our life that do have that low self-worth, that do have that core abandonment wound. And sometimes we might find ourselves in a relationship with this type of person, and we sort of attach to it, even though there might be a lot of red flags, and even though it is something that truly isn't that healthy. And the reason why we're attaching to it is because we see a little bit of familiarity in that type of person. We can almost see the same wounds that they carry, that we carry, but then we're also looking to have a sense of security by attaching to something that we think we can kind of control, or we think that we can use to mitigate that feeling of abandonment. So when you have two people that have this core abandonment wound and low self-worth, it's easy for these people to attach to each other to try to erase that feeling of abandonment, because it's like, okay, I am with you. I am never going to leave you. This is exactly what it is that we're doing with each other, because we both feel really afraid and we both feel really sad under the surface from our core wound, and we're not wanting to feel that together. Now, this is oftentimes how this relationship comes about, like how this dynamic manifests itself. But then there's the component of a lot of unhealthy behavior patterns that are mixed in with this, because a lot of people that do find themselves in this type of relationship with this type of attachment, there's still a lot of unconsciousness to how to actually work through the deeper rooted trauma. And there's a lack of education to know what that is and why we need to do that. So we'll have two people that are kind of attaching to each other, but at the same time, there's a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms. And there's a lot of unhealthy behavior patterns that are consistently manifesting themselves throughout the relationship. So it just becomes this kind of this toxic cycle of, hurt and of pain and of things that are just, cycling around. And underneath of it, the only reason why they're still in the relationship is because they don't want to feel abandoned again. So I just wanted to share this dynamic because this is something that is quite common and it does take place. Now, the, whole idea of today's video is to help you understand self-abandonment. And this is actually a lot of the times where the roots of self-abandonment comes into play. The roots of self-abandonment is when you're in a relationship dynamic like the one that I'm explaining right now. And let's say you start to become a little bit more aware of yourself in this type of relationship, and you start to want to actually get to the core wound and feel through some of those emotions. And you're in a relationship with someone where originally both of you had really low self-worth. Both of you are afraid of feeling abandoned, so you're attaching together, and there's a bunch of unhealthy coping mechanisms. Let's say you've been together with this person for a year, and then you start working on some of these core wounds, and you start feeling some of those feelings of, what it felt like to be abandoned, and you start integrating those things. You start healing certain parts of your wounded inner child, and then you start kind of seeing certain things inside of your partner that are unhealthy behavior patterns, and you're starting to realize it. And then you're looking inside of yourself and you're asking yourself, like, do I have these behavior patterns too? And since you've been working on yourself, you've been releasing a lot of those behavior patterns, and you're now wanting to kind of be in a different type of relationship dynamic. But you're noticing that your partner is still kind of in the cycles that they're in, and they're still, attached to certain protective mechanisms within themselves that is not really allowing them to drop deeper into their own sensitivity or their own vulnerability. So they're being a little bit stubborn with how they're holding on to their protective mechanisms and their unhealthy coping mechanisms. And then the next thing you know, that behavior of your partner starts to actually affect you. So it's almost like, if we're looking at it from the lens of energetic resonance, you two are together and your energetic resonance starts moving upwards, and their energetic resonance is staying exactly where it's at. And as you're starting to move upwards, they're pulling you back down. Okay? So that's an energetic way to look at it. But once again, it's one of those things where you can often find yourself in these types of relationships where one person starts to actually work on themselves and wants to change the dynamic, but then the other partner just isn't ready to do that, and they're not willing to kind of go through that process that you may have gone through yourself to release some of those attachments and unhealthy coping mechanisms and, feel those deeper core wounds. And because of it, they're staying in this kind of toxic cycle when you're trying to move out of it. So the reason why this is such a challenging thing to experience and such a sad thing to experience is because both people do have core wounds of abandonment. And no one wants to, anyone that has a core wound of abandonment does not want to make another person feel abandoned. So it's really hard to actually have a boundary and say, hey, this is no longer looking healthy. I see that you're still kind of wanting to stay in these cycles that you're in, and I'm trying to move into a new version of myself. I'm trying to experience life in a different way and nurture my inner child. I think it's best that we have some separation for now. I still love you, I still support you, but I think it's best that we take time apart. It's very hard for someone with a core wound of abandonment to actually say that or to initiate that, because a lot of times we think that we are then going to be abandoning the other person if we end up doing that. But in reality, that's actually not what's taking place. So this is a very common thing that will happen, where then people will actually settle and they will stay in an unhealthy relationship dynamic because they can sometimes see that their partner is cycling in these unhealthy behavior patterns, and they will try to make reasons as to why their partner is doing it that then gives them more of an assurance of why they're staying in that cycle. So what that kind of can look like is you are wanting to move into a different version of yourself. You're wanting to take care of yourself in a different way. You're starting to regain some of your self-worth. You see your partner and they're still cycling and they're not doing the same healing work as you're doing, and their self-worth is still very low because they're attaching to certain parts of themselves that are reaffirming that that's their self-worth. It's just low. So you might, as you're becoming more conscious and understanding your inner system, you might look at them and you might see why they're staying attached. You might see their wounds. You might see why they're in that cycle. You might actually understand it. Like, I can see why you're still doing that. It's because of this thing that maybe you went through in the past, or it's because you're avoiding this type of feeling, whatever. So what can happen is, what people will sometimes do is they will see what's going on with their unhealthy relationship and the partner that they're in it with, and they will say, oh, well, this is the reason why they're doing it. I just have to wait until they're ready to kind of move out of that and shift into a new understanding of their self, and then are willing to heal so that we can then grow together. So I'm just going to wait. I'm going to, go through however long it is that I need to go through with these abusive behavior patterns that my partner does with me, because I see that that's not really what they want to do. It's just something that they're doing because they're still just trying to protect themselves. So I'm going to endure this pain. I'm going to endure this unhealthy behavior because I think within time they will actually shift out of it, and then we can eventually grow together. Okay? Even as I'm explaining this now, I can almost guarantee that there are some of you out there that are really resonating with what it is that I'm saying. This is something that I personally have had a lot of experience with in my past relationships throughout my whole life. And it's a really sad thing, and it's a tough thing. And when you are doing that, when you're saying, okay, I will endure this unhealthy behavior because I know your core wants to heal, but I just see that there are parts of you, protective parts of you, that are staying in this, unhealthy cycle. What we're actually doing when we do that is we are abandoning ourself. Okay, I want that to really sit in. When you are in that type of situation where you are waiting for your partner to grow with you, and you are enduring unhealthy behavior from them because you understand where they're coming from, but they don't understand it yet, you are abandoning yourself, and you are abandoning your own inner child to stay in that. And I know that this is one of the hardest things to actually accept if you're in this type of situation, or if you've been in this type of situation, because you might really love the person. The person might be an amazing person at their core, but you just, you have this idea that they're going to shift, and that the way that they're behaving is just because of their protective response. But that's sort of like the same thing as someone running up to you and punching you in the face, and because you love them, you're like, oh, I see why you did that. I can understand why you punched me in the face, so that's okay. I'll just endure this and not stand up for myself or not create a boundary, right? That's abandoning yourself, because the whole way through this process, you have an inner child. You have your own unique connection to your own inner child. And this is actually where the roots of self-worth gets developed, where you get to connect with your core, and you get to reparent and nurture all of your different parts and your wounded inner child. When you are walking around allowing this inner child to get abused and to get hurt and to go through triggers that are rooted in core wounds that aren't even necessary to have to go through in an unhealthy way, then that is a form of abandoning your inner child. That is like the same thing as taking your child, like an actual child, to a place where you know that they're going to get bullied, you know that they're going to get hurt, you know that they're going to get, left out and just hurt. And it's like you're taking them to a place where you know that's going to happen, and you're just going to leave them there until it stops happening. That's basically the exact same thing that you're doing when you're choosing to stay in a contract relationship with someone that is behaving in an unhealthy way with you, and that you are enduring that unhealthy behavior because you see why they're doing it, and you see that's not what they really want to do, when really that's their responsibility. That is their journey. That is something they have to look at, and they have to see. You're not responsible for enduring unhealthy behavior over and over and over again, especially if you're communicating about it, especially if you know yourself and you understand what's actually happening and you're trying to get them to see what's taking place. You're not responsible to change the other person so that they don't feel abandoned. You are responsible for not abandoning yourself and for protecting and taking care of your own inner child. So it's in these moments that a lot of people will abandon themselves, and they will stay in these unhealthy relationships, however those relationships manifest, and they will continuously go through this unnecessary pain and suffering and heaviness and toxic behavior patterns that just cycle and cycle and cycle and cycle with hopes that it will eventually change. And there are some relationships that within time, it does shift and things move out of that. And that's a beautiful thing. And then there are relationships where that never does actually change. It is something where the partner is just not willing to shift out of that. They're very sure that they want to stay in those protective mechanisms. And, that's a painful experience when you thought someone would change, or you thought someone would grow with you and they never do. Okay? That is a form of abandoning your inner child. That is the harder path to take. So in life, there are going to be harder paths to take, and there are going to be easier paths to take. I like to lean towards, let's take the path of least resistance. Okay? For me personally, I've been through enough pain, enough suffering in my life by making choices that I've made, that I've learned a lot from that pain. And I've gotten to a place of wisdom and maturity where I now want the easier path. I want the path that flows the easiest. Okay, not saying that I'm not willing to go through pain or I'm not willing to go through challenges and things in that nature, but I want that path. That's my intention. All right? So with that being said, when you choose to honor yourself and also love your inner child, you can also honor that other person and love that other person and create a healthy boundary with them. Something along the lines of, hey, I'm noticing that there is an unhealthy behavior pattern that keeps, manifesting to me that is very hurtful to my inner child. This is something that I don't know if you're conscious of that you're doing. So that's the reason why I'm communicating to you. I want you to see how you're hurting me and why it's hurting me. Not saying that I want to get rid of the trigger with this. I know that the trigger is important to go through, but I at least want to see if you're aware of this pattern that is hurting me in this way so that we can actually grow together through that. So you can have that conversation, and if that person is not willing to grow with you and they're not willing to acknowledge how they might be hurting your own inner child, then that is an indication that they are not willing to grow with you at that point, and that they're staying stubborn and attached to their protective mechanisms that they feel like they have to be attached to, even though it's at the cost of hurting you and hurting other people around them. So in that moment, when you say, I love you and I support you, but I'm going to need a boundary from you, I'm going to need to separate. I still love you, I still support you, but I'm going to need this for me, and ultimately this is going to be best for you too, because this is just not healthy to stay in the way that we're in it now. So when you approach it in this way, you are not abandoning the other person. You are actually loving them and supporting them the entire way through, and you are making the healthiest choice for them, because they need to then learn their own life lessons with themselves to get to the root of why they're attached to whatever it is that they are that continues to hurt you or continues to hurt other people. And that is their own responsibility, and that is stuff that their life will reflect back to them based on their own energetic resonance. And you don't need to necessarily get involved with that. That's their experience. But that is the healthiest thing for them. And of course, that is the healthiest thing for you, because you're not abandoning yourself. You are loving yourself. You are honoring yourself. You are showing that you have self-worth and that you care about your inner child by saying, I am not going to allow my inner child to be around something that is abusive to it. And I know what I deserve in life. And I know that my energetic resonance is going to attract to me the right situations and the right circumstances that are going to nurture my process and nurture my soul. Okay? This is creating that boundary. This is what that real self-love looks like. And this is what it means to not abandon yourself. Now, this is what's important to understand. When you do this, if you're in a relationship with someone that really loves you and you really love them and their core really does want to heal, then it's only a matter of time through separation where both of you can reground yourself, come back to your center, go through the life experiences that it is that you need to go through that are going to show you the things that you were not able to see previously, and more things can get released so that there can be a healthier foundation when you two decide to come back together. Because there are some relationships that are so deep, that are so intimate, we call these soulmates or twin flames, that they do end up coming back together. And there are times where these relationships just are in toxic cycles that aren't healthy, and there needs to be that time apart, but then it comes back together in a healthier way. So that is something that you can always trust and you can always rely on when something is meant to be. So when you decide to love yourself and create separation with another person, if it is truly meant to be, that separation will only be something that ends up serving and working for both of you in that relationship. It will only give both of you more of a deeper understanding of each other, a deeper understanding of yourself, and it will be a very important and healthy thing that will allow both of you to eventually come together in a much more healthy way. So it's only a beneficial thing, and you can trust that. Now, if the person is not meant to be in your life anymore, you can trust that they are going to dissipate, or you can trust that you are both going to go in different directions, and your core will understand that. Your core will know this the whole way through, your intuition. So regardless if it's a relationship that comes back or a stepping stone relationship that separates and you just move on, in life, you want to approach both from the lens of letting go. So you don't want to be attached to, hey, are we going to get back? Are we coming back? You don't want to be attached to, this is what we are. This is exactly what's going to happen. You want to let it go as if you're completely separating forever. Okay, just let it go. I know that's going to be tough. I know it's not going to be easy, but you have to connect with those core emotions that you were avoidant to. You have to connect to that inner void inside of your body that feels terribly sad, that's grieving, that feels fear, that has that anxiety, that feels abandoned, lonely, depressed. You've got to connect with these emotions and release everything. Be willing to just let go of the outcome on what any of this is, because once again, one of the reasons why a lot of people will abandon themselves is also because they're afraid to feel abandoned by abandoning their partner that's not being healthy, or by even just leaving and then feeling that abandonment. Remember, a lot of these types of relationships are based on attachments and unhealthy coping mechanisms to not have to feel abandonment. So, feeling that wound when that separation occurs is one of the most important things. And what you have to do with that is be willing to let everything go. And it's in that state where then you get to resonate at a different level and start to attract different types of relationships and experiences and inner understanding and awareness of what's actually going on in your system. And All you really have to do is be patient and trust the process. Okay? But just know that there are amazingly beautiful things that will always come out in your life, I promise you, when you don't abandon yourself. Your relationships will upgrade. Everything about you will upgrade. Your self-worth, your self-love, your understanding of yourself, the relationship between you and your parts and your inner child. All of these things will improve as time goes on, as you heal and as you integrate, and that will affect your resonance to be ready at some point for a different relationship where the person can actually grow with you, whether it's the same person from the separation or a different person. So trust the process and know that this is something worth going through. As uncomfortable as it can be at first, it really does pay off. And it's something that's so vital to experience. Okay, with that being said, this was everything I wanted to share in today's video. Hopefully you were able to get a clear perspective of everything that it was that I was talking about in our today's video, so that you can apply this to your own life and kind of maybe do some self-reflection with things that have happened in the past. Or maybe you're in this relationship right now and you were just drawn to hearing this video because this is where you're at. Okay? If you enjoyed it, hit that thumbs up button, drop down into the comment sections. Let me know what your experience is with these types of relationships. Let me know if you've abandoned yourself before and what that looked like and what came out of it. And also share your experience if you have not abandoned yourself and you chose to honor yourself and nurture that inner child. And then also let me know what the outcome was of that as well. Hit the notification bell, get notified whenever I post content. I have a ton of valuable content like this that is paralleling with a lot of people's process. So if you want to tap into this wave of, healthy content that is going to be very symbolic for where you're at, hit the notification bell and get notified. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Further link into everything that I do by subscribing. Copy this link and send it to someone that you know needs to hear it right now. There's someone out there that needs to hear this message, and I really encourage you to share it with them. I'm going to take your awareness to the Patreon. It's the first link at the top. You can't miss it. This is a very exclusive place to get tons of content. Okay, none of this content's on my public YouTube channel. It's over 270 plus videos that are for the Patreon members, organized in different collection sections, easy to navigate, everything from occult education, initiation, ritual practices I perform on camera and educate you on as well, a whole magic training course, trauma education, nervous system regulation, understanding what the foundation is, everything that revolves around self-development in its most powerful ways is what's over on my Patreon. I highly encourage you to look into that. There's 1,200 plus members that are currently signed up. That speaks for itself. Tier number 3 and tier number 4 gives you access to something extremely unique. This is called the Universe B Ritual Service. And this is a ritual service that I perform on the 29th of every single month that has one. And it's an energetic transfer from me to you to support you, from my energetic resonance to yours, basically as like a psychic mentor to work through some of the darkest aspects of yourself and your shadow, your unconscious, to surface a lot of these repressed negative emotions that might be stored in your body, to release them, understand what it means to work with those and find acceptance for those, basically becoming one with your demons, and then being able to walk in Universe B, which is the shadow dimension, the realm of the unconscious, so that your shadow starts to work with you and no longer resists you. This is one of the healthiest things that a person can do, and it helps you to have a very powerful foundation within yourself in regards to connecting with your core and being able to understand what's going on inside of yourself and the world around you, and navigating that in a much more authentic way. Okay, very powerful ritual service. There are about 300 members that actively take advantage of this every single month, and there's tons of very powerful and valuable feedback that I have received from all of these different participants that have been receiving it over the years. I get tons of feedback from people saying, ever since I got the ritual, my entire life has shifted. Ever since I got the ritual, it's like it initiated a massive change into my life. Ever since I got the ritual, I now am not using the same unhealthy coping mechanisms and addictions that I was so used to. And people are really interested, like, how does that actually happen? It's because it's a real ritual where I'm transferring my energetic resonance to you to support you. And that means the stuff that I know, the stuff that I've experienced, the stuff that I embody currently is what I'm transferring to help support you through your authentic development process. Okay, a psychic mentor. Then you get entrance into an Atlantean crystal grid, which is a crystal energetic grid that I've created, which is very advanced, and it supports this whole process as well. And it has a torus field generator sitting in the center that projects frequencies amongst the grid itself. It projects frequencies into it based on the different healing frequencies that I play. I have a whole bunch of frequencies that I can shift between, and all of the participants are placed in this grid getting that energetic support. So if this is something you want to take advantage of, look into it. It's the first link below. Check it out. Now in the second link, this is where you can book a one-on-one call with me, or it's where you can jump into mentorships. If you want to book a call, get to know me, or if you have questions, we could absolutely do that. I would love to. If you want to do a mentorship, this is the most intimate and powerful way to personally work with me. Okay, I have worked with a ton of different people from all over the world, different walks of life. I currently have a full schedule of bookings for the mentorships as we speak right now. It is something I'm very passionate about. I will help you work through some of the deeper core traumas that you have in your nervous system, help you to understand those and understand what it looks like to work with them, to integrate them in a healthy way, help you create a healthy foundation in your life to regulate your nervous system. And then once we get all of that foundational stuff down, we can talk about occult initiation if that's something that you want to take advantage of to support your development process. And I can guide you through that as well. So if you're interested in this, definitely check it out. That is the second link below. Now, also in the same second link below, you can book a tarot card reading with Alexia. She's a very gifted tarot card reader. She can pinpoint what you're going through and then what to expect in your near future and relate all of it back to the Kabbalistic tree to give you an even deeper perspective. If this is something you want to take advantage of, second link as well. Third link is a LUCIFERS Foundation course, very valuable course to develop a healthy yet powerful relationship with the energy that is known as Lucifer. So if this is something that you're in resonance with, I would highly recommend you check it out. It's that third link below. Now in the fourth link, this is my YouTube memberships. This is where you can become a part of the Universal Mastery family. So I would love to have you a part of the community where it's like a big family. Literally, I mean, there's people that have been in the community for years now. And it's just such a fun thing to see these familiar faces, to see people with little badges next to your name. So if that's something you want to tap into, go ahead and do it. It's that fourth link below. The fifth link is my book recommendations for you. This is the fundamentals on occultism that literally can be used as tools throughout your entire process of development with occultism specifically. So the fifth link is going to give you access to those books. So definitely make sure that you check that out. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap it up here. I really do hope you got value from today's video, and I'm sure that there are several of you that really were able to take that in. But other than that, I also hope that you have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.